Hello and welcome to another one of my podcasts. This one's a bit different because I've rebranded myself and I'm now Glam Up with Katrina V. And we are going to talk all things beauty, health, fitness and wellness. And my first guest on my new podcast is a lovely friend of mine who's really in the fitness industry, and we're going to be talking about menopause. Now, menopause has been a dirty word for many, many years. And it's related to women that are over the hill, that are finished, that are has-beens, and that's just not the case. And Dawn Raquel, my friend and my colleague, is here to tell us how she did it completely naturally, without any medication, any bioidentical, any hormone replacement of any kind, only with diet and exercise. So Dawn Raquel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So tell us a bit about yourself.
Well, I actually got into the fitness industry not the fitness industry. I started working out about, I'd say, 12 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, and then went through a really big transformation, saw a lot of changes in my body. But then about 2 years ago, I noticed that things were going downhill, and I worked out why. I always like to ask why, what is going on, and then tackle it from a scientific point of view. So I got myself certified as a menopause specialist coach, purely as to be my own coach, to understand myself. And then in the process, I was also able to help other women as well, but to understand the system that I'm now moving into. And I always thought that I would have to go on to hormone therapy. I was like, well, I guess I'm getting to that age. I'm going to have to go on hormone therapy. But through my studies, I was like, actually, there's ways to address the issues that are happening in my transition as well as in my new system that actually contribute to the betterment of myself. But I have to be proactive about it. But once you know those steps and you understand the science behind it, it's quite fascinating, actually.
I mean, I remember we had this conversation last year. We went on a live and you were telling us about it then, but I believe that you've taken a step up from that. And I can tell you, I haven't seen you for a while and you are definitely in the best shape I've ever seen you. You're slimmer and leaner than I've ever seen you before. So how did you get there?
Well, there was a process of, through my studies, I don't like just to eat science and take it for what other people say. I like to experiment for myself and understand it for myself. So one thing that women do as we start to pack on the pounds, because that's what was happening to me, I was going into the gym, I was hitting the weights 5-6 days a week, and I was starting to lose muscle, which is surprising. I was hitting the weights and I was losing muscle and I was gaining fat. And I was like, why? So I learned the science. I did turn things around, but then I wanted to do what most women usually do, which is cut the calories really low and start doing massive amounts of cardio, because this is what used to work when we were in our 20s and our 30s. I did that for about a month. It was, I think, in about January that I started doing that. I did about 150 to 180 minutes of cardio per week, so walking on the stairs. Huge investment of time, and I got fatter. So I have this really incredible before picture, and then I switched things up back to what I had learned in the science.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I want to just understand. So the only thing you changed was the cardio.
Yeah,
and you were eating the same, you were doing the weights the same.
Yeah, I was still eating the same, but there is something that I changed. So at the end of March, I started working really hard towards, because I hit menopause on May 15th. That was my 1-year anniversary.
It's amazing that you actually got the date.
Yeah, well, it's the day of the anniversary of your last period.
Right.
So my last period was May 15th, 2023. So I knew May 15th, 2024, if I made it to there without another period, I've hit menopause. I'd also done a couple of blood panels in between just to see what my hormone levels were like, and it was showing that definitely my ovaries were shutting down and I was heading into the menopausal era. But then I had booked myself a photo shoot on May 19th because I wanted to celebrate hitting menopause, because it's not something I think that we should fear. I think it's something that we should embrace. It's a new era that we're going into. I call it my menopause birthday.
So let's talk about that, because, you know, as women, we are shunned, and it's like we have to hide away. We have to go through it in secret. I mean, I hit menopause 3 years ago, and even 3 years ago, there wasn't as much information as there is now. I mean, I know a lot more now than I did when it actually happened to me. And it was a shock, because for me, I was well right up until the day I got my last period, and then boom, it was like the light switch flicked, and I started getting hot flushes. I felt out of control of my body. I watched my waist expand. I watched 2-3 kilos come on that I couldn't lose. And I was just beside myself. I mean, for me, as you, I mean, I've trained since I was 19 years old, and I've always been able to maintain my weight through diet and exercise, and nothing was working for me. And it was really, I mean, I felt desperate sometimes. And, you know, you get the brain fog, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, because all the time, all my friends had went through it, and I'm sitting there pretty thinking, well, it's not happening to me yet, until it did. Yeah. And I think older women nowadays are not like they were even 15, definitely not 20 years ago. Yeah. The older we get, if you look after yourself, you maintain your beauty, your youthfulness, and your, you know, lust for life.
Right. And you're right. It has been an era that women went through without talking about it. And that's what's wonderful about these last number of years. All of a sudden, things are coming out onto the mainstream, and we get to learn about what is actually happening in our bodies. And it isn't the end of life. We actually spend more than 30 years post-menopause.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
I refuse to accept that this is an era of irrelevance, of redundancy, of unworthiness. I think that I can be the strongest, the fittest, the sexiest, the most relevant than I've ever been in my entire life.
I absolutely
agree. Because the power
agree.
and the energy that I used to put into my cycle and into my fertility, now that's gone. And the energy's not gone, but what I'm putting the energy into is now gone. And now I'm moving into a new era where I'm actually reinvesting that power back into what I created during my fertile years, whether that's my career, whether that's my community, whether that's my children. So we should really think about this as a time, like our productivity hasn't lessened, our importance and our relevance hasn't diminished. This isn't a time where we just sort of dim ourselves until death. I refuse to believe that I'm irrelevant for 30 years.
Absolutely.
There's no sense in that evolutionarily at all. This is a cultural and societal perception that we as women can, in our power, change that perception.
I mean, I think recently Halle Berry's been a big advocate for menopause and talking about it publicly. And I think that helps women come to terms with it and to understand it more. Because for me personally, I mean, I never had children. I never got married. So I've always had that youthfulness about me anyway. And when this happened to me, I have to say, it didn't make me feel any different, actually, inwardly. It was just I didn't like what was happening outwardly.
Right.
You know, but I mean, I have managed it through bioidentical hormones, but I'm hoping through a conversation with you that we can maybe change that.
Well, I think it's also really important to understand what's happening in the system. And a lot of people think that so first of all, we have 3 different types of estrogen.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
We have estrone, estradiol, and estriol. Estriol shows up when we're pregnant, so we're not going to talk about that one because that's not happening to us at all. So estradiol is the dominant fertility estrogen that we have that's produced by the ovaries when we're in our fertile years. Whether we're having children or not, we go through our fertility. This is the dominant estrogen. This is the estrogen that we're actually weaning ourselves off of. We are not deficient of estrogen. We're going through a detox of estradiol. And estradiol is very powerful and also very addictive. So the thing is that when we start adding in I understand that people take the bioidenticals and take the hormone therapy for various reasons. I personally didn't do it because I knew that I needed to go through the process. It's basically a reverse puberty. So I am detoxing off of estradiol, and we have to go through those difficult
hot flushes.
Yeah, we have to go through the difficult detox symptoms. But if we keep adding it into our system, we keep having to detox off of it.
Right.
So I preferred to just go through it. Then also understanding what estradiol used to do for me and what estrone doesn't do for me. Estrone is also estrogen, but it's a weaker form of estrogen. And this is what I'm left with post-menopause. And this is actually what the body wants to start making. If we don't start doing things proactively in order to create reactions in the body that estradiol used to do for us, then what our body is going to do is start packing on the fat here around the midsection, because it starts creating estrone here. So it's like, oh my goodness, we need to start creating more because we don't have enough estrogen. We don't have enough estrogen. We don't have enough estrogen, but we're going to produce estrone. So we need to start building this belly fat in order to create it, because the ovaries are shutting down. But the thing is that estradiol does certain things in the body. Now, specifically about the body fat changes and the body composition in the belly fat, because this is a big thing that women are feeling. They feel that their body is just expanding within the middle.
Yeah.
One thing that estradiol used to do for us without us even thinking about it was pull sugar, glucose, from the bloodstream up into the muscles, up into the cells to use as energy. And as we lose estradiol, we lose that ability to automatically do that. So the glucose is just sitting around in the bloodstream, and then it gets absorbed and made into fat because it's not being used, because it's not being pulled up. Estrone isn't going to do that for us. I don't know what she's doing. Like, she just hangs around with us, but she's not doing these things that estradiol used to do for us. But we can proactively do things in order to create those reactions to happen. So one thing that I did in February when I started switching things over, so I did this little experiment. I did long steady state cardio for 150 to 180 minutes per week. And I was noticing that I was getting wider in the middle. My hips were getting really big. So then I switched it up, and I was still doing my weights 5-6 days a week. I was doing my strength training, but then I cut down my cardio to 30 minutes only a week, split up into 3 10-minute segments. Each 10-minute segment, I was doing HIIT workouts in a variety of ways. So I make sure that my heart rate goes way up. I'm getting up into the 80 to 90% zone. So I got myself one of these metric counters. It's, can I say a brand name?
Yeah, sure.
So it's Whoop. I love Whoop because it shows me all sorts of different metrics. I can track all sorts of things. So I can check my heart rate and see what's going on. So I want this heart rate to shoot up to the 80 to 90% zone, and then it comes back down. So this last week, one of my protocols for HIIT was on that ski erg machine. So I set my timer for 45 seconds of work, 15 seconds of rest. So I'm just going mad, for 45 seconds, then 15 seconds of dead rest, 45 seconds. I did 10 rounds of that. That's 10 minutes. But my heart rate is going up, and then it's coming down slightly. It's shooting back up. It's coming back down. And what this does is it triggers a metabolic response in the body, where the body is like, oh my goodness, we need to have fast energy. Quick, grab the glucose from the bloodstream, because our cells need energy, because she just keeps doing the ski erg and she won't stop doing it, and she's doing it at full force. So we need this energy, and we need it quick. So it starts pulling it from the bloodstream. Also, what can happen is if you work hard enough during the HIIT workout or a sprint workout, I'll talk about that in a minute. It doesn't necessarily need to be running, but either your HIIT workout or your sprint workout, if you work hard enough during that short period of time, you can ignite a metabolic fire that will burn fat for up to 48 hours after your workout, because it's consistently pulling the glucose up out of the bloodstream in order to feed the muscles, feed the cells, repair, restore, regenerate. Okay. So this is what we need to do, because estrone isn't doing it for us anymore. Estradiol used to do it for us. So all of a sudden I was losing fat. I was leaning out, and this is all that I do. I do my strength workouts. I do 3 HIIT workouts or sprint workouts a week, and that's it. And then we'll talk about nutrition after, but that's essentially what I do because of scientifically what estradiol used to do for me doesn't anymore. So I'm going to do it instead.
I mean, that's an absolutely fantastic explanation. And, you know, I mean, there are a lot more widely spread videos that you can watch, and they all say it's the HIIT training, it's not the long hours of cardio.
Right.
And I think a lot of women get scared and then they just automatically think, got to do cardio, got to do cardio.
Absolutely.
And that just apparently is not working for us the same anymore.
Yes.
And I think it's much easier actually to do 3 times a week, 10 minutes. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Who
Well, I'm
wouldn't
spending
want
way
to do
less
that?
time in the gym, from 150 or 180 minutes a week down to 30 minutes split over 3 days. It's incredible. But this is also why I keep it to only 10 minutes, because during those 10 minutes, I work really hard. If I go to a HIIT class, it essentially turns into a circuit class, and we actually only put in about 60% of effort. So
Right.
we're not going to get up into that 80 to 90% heart rate zone for 45 minutes. We're just not going to do it. We're going to save a
Right.
little bit of energy for the rest of the class. Oh, I don't want to burn out until the rest of the class. So then you're not actually
Right.
pushing. So if you keep it to 10 minutes, oh man, you can push really, really hard. Then there's also sprint workouts. And the difference between HIIT, which is high intensity interval training, and SIT, which is sprint interval training, is the amount of time and the amount of rest. So in sprint, it's very short periods of time of work, but you are working between your 90 and 100% max. So you're just going full out. So this is either on the assault bike. This is like as many burpees as you can get done in like 30 seconds or 20 seconds. So you're just going full out. Or you run as fast as you can for 12 seconds. So one of my favorite sprint workouts is on the assault bike. So this is the one where you're pushing and pulling with the
Yes,
arms
we've
and you're
done that
pushing with the
together.
legs. Yeah. It's only 4 minutes. It's only 4 minutes, but I work as hard as I can for 12 seconds. So I set myself a goal between 5 to 6 calories during that 12 seconds. So I am just hauling, like I'm just like I make so much noise. This is also something that women need to get over. We need to be okay with making noise in the gym, because if you're putting out that much effort, I'm sorry, you can't be quiet. You just can't. So it's 12 seconds full on, 20 seconds of dead rest. I take my hands off the bike, I take my feet off the bike, and I'm just dead resting for 20 seconds. Then as soon as that beeper goes again, 12 seconds. I do 8 rounds of that. I'm on the ground at the end of that, but it ignites such a metabolic reaction that it's just pulling all of that glucose. Then right after my workout, I eat a protein-rich meal, and that just also ignites. It goes right up into the muscles. So it's really accentuating that muscle building, which then the more muscle that we build, the more calories we burn at rest. So we want to build that caloric metabolic
muscle.
rate. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, do you know how, on a percentage level, how much muscle we lose after menopause? Because I know myself, I have to work really hard to sustain the muscle that was much easier.
Right.
You know, when I was in my
because
40s.
that's also what estradiol used to do for us. It protects muscle, and estrone actually is participating in breaking it down. So estrone is actually working against us. So this is why I like to call estrone my frenemy, because she's the girl that's left with me at the high school cafeteria table. Estradiol was my best friend who had my back all the time, and even if I was naughty, she would be there to help me out. She's graduated now. She's not here anymore, and I'm left with estrone. And she's the mean girl at the table, but you also don't want to let her be by herself, because you don't know what she's up to when you're not looking.
Right.
So you keep her real close, you get to know her really well, and then you learn how to work with her, because she can be a really good friend, but you have to be proactive about it and understand what it is that she's not doing for you, and also what she's doing to you. So she is breaking down your muscle. She is a part of breaking down your bone. She is a part of inflaming your system. So estradiol used to anti-inflame us. So this is why after our period, when estradiol would take a spike again, because we're back into a new cycle, all of a sudden the bloating from like our PMS and everything from our period time, all of a sudden it goes. All of a sudden we have a flat stomach again. How did that happen? Because estradiol is there, and she's anti-inflaming our system. Well, now she's gone. and estrogen's there, and estrogen's like, do you know what? Let's just inflame this up. So this is her underlying fundamental characteristic. She inflames us.
So, I mean, inflammation is a huge problem for even pre and postmenopausal women. What is the top 3 things that we can do to stave off inflammation?
Number 1 is alcohol.
Okay.
Stop drinking, like 100%. It really does. And as we lose estradiol, we also, our liver function goes down. So the liver is what detoxifies us. So alcohol just isn't our friend anymore, as heartbreaking as that is for a lot of us, and socially, because a lot of us, our socialization is wrapped around alcohol. But really, if you give up alcohol, that's a huge one. Processed sugar and processed foods. So going down into the whole foods, making sure that you're getting enough protein, making sure that you're getting enough greens and fiber in order to help you to digest that protein. So once we heal the gut, then we can actually absorb the nutrients that we need, and we can reduce that inflammation.
Okay, so before we go into the food and the diet, I want to talk more about the weight training, the high. What is it we call
the
it?
High intensity interval training?
No.
The resistance training, the strength training?
The strength training. I couldn't get it out
favorite.
there. Yeah, and I mean, I know you had the Moxie Strength app, and I did do that for a few months, and it was amazing because it was easy, because you split it into upper body, lower body. I mean, do you think that's more beneficial than to do 1 day back, 1 day legs, 1 day arms?
I like to work my strength around the compound movements.
Okay.
So this is how it was built. So the first day of legs, I always do. I love legs so much, so I work them out 3 days a week because it's such a big muscle system. Yeah. So 1 day would be around the squats. So a barbell squat is the main compound movement of that day. Okay. Then on shoulder day, shoulder and chest, I like to do dips because it's also a functional, fundamental movement where we're able to push ourselves up. As we get older, especially in the Western world where a lot of older elderly people live on their own for longer, they don't have this communal society where they live with their families. Once they've reached a certain age, they often live on their own, or they'll be like in old folks' homes. With the elderly, one of the most common top reasons for death is falls, and not because they fell and it killed them, but because they fell and they couldn't get back up in order to call for help. So this whole thing of pushing ourselves up is actually a life-saving movement, and it's a way of anti-aging yourself, being able to push your body weight up. So on my strength day for shoulders, I incorporate dips and also bench press. So it's that same thing. So that's what my whole workout. Then I have accessories. Then I have another day where I'm doing deadlifts. So that's another compound movement. And then another one with hip thrusts, because I just like working on that round glutes, making my booty nice.
Cool,
so
yeah.
That one. And then on my back day, again, it's about pulling yourself up, being able to, so it's about chin ups, it's about back rows, all of these pulls, being able to pull our shoulders back so that we're standing up nice and straight. Because as we age, we have been fighting against gravity for all of our life. So this is why all of a sudden our bodies start tilting forward, because the body is being pulled by gravity forward. So you'll see that older people, they stand and you say to them, stand up straight, and they're like, I am. And then you push them up to actually stand up straight. They feel like they're falling backwards, but it's actually a part of anti-aging to incorporate into our strength to build these muscles to pull ourselves up to standing. And then that also helps to strengthen the core as well.
I mean, look, I've worked out since I was 19 years old. I was with a professional ice hockey player, and he got me into exercise. Before that, I hated exercise. But for me, it's just part of my daily routine. It's probably one of the most important parts of my day.
Yeah.
And I think people have to see it that way. They have to look at exercise as just part of their day. If they want to have longevity, stay healthy as they age. I mean, there's no reason for us really to get old as we know it.
Yeah.
If you take care of yourself and take care of your diet.
Absolutely.
So let's go on to diet then,
Okay.
because I know diet is a huge, huge part of menopause.
Yes, it absolutely is. And it does link back to that inflammation.
Yeah.
So again, understanding that estradiol used to anti-inflame us. So even if we introduce things into our bodies that inflamed our system, she's there going, don't worry, girl, I'll clean it up for you. But as we lose estradiol, then estrogen's sitting there and she's like, do you know what, dude, you're going to have to deal with this on your own. I'm not cleaning it up for you. And also on top of that, I'm going to inflame you on purpose. So we have a fundamentally inflamed system and we're going to add inflammation on top of it. We're never going to lose fat with an inflamed
See, I've
system.
never had it explained to me like that. That is phenomenal.
Well, because then
we
don't feel
now
like
I understand.
Right, because then you don't feel like you're doing this because, oh, I can't eat these things. It's not a drudgery. It's learning how to work with your system.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so we have this new little frenemy who she doesn't tolerate these things, and she really actually sounds like a menopausal woman. Like she's just like, do you know what? You're going to have to deal with this on your own because I'm too busy doing my own thing over here. So I'm not doing it for you anymore. This is how I am with my children.
Yeah.
My kids, I'm like, dude, clean it up yourself. You want to live in your dirty room? Fine. You clean in that dirty or live in that dirty room. That's on you. You have to learn how to pack stuff yourself. You know, these things. I'm not doing it for you anymore. I'm busy with my own stuff. I am estrone. Like that's what I am now. And so if we learn how to work with her, then all of a sudden we become better friends. And so she's just not going to uninflame us any longer. Our digestion starts to slow down, these kinds of things. And again, because of, and it all links together. There really isn't one thing that's going to be the magic
ultimate
bullet
yeah.
No, it's all going together. So we need the strength training in order to deal with the bone loss and the muscle loss. But then we also need the nutrition in order to feed what we've been doing during our strength workouts, because we're trying to combat that. But we're not going to build muscle if we're not fueling our body with protein, because we need to build our muscle, and the muscle only builds with protein. So we need that. We also need the carbohydrates because we need it for the energy. So we don't need to completely cut it out, but we need to understand how to build that nutritional system.
So give us a day. Give
Of
us
my
a day
nutrition?
of your nutrition.
Okay, well, I will say that one thing that was really fundamentally changing for me, that from March until now, so since February when I was doing this experiment and got all the gained fat and stuff, from then to now I've lost 4 kg of fat.
Amazing.
And I've kept my muscle. And one of the big key things was that I tracked my calories and my macros during the weekends. I used to be like pretty good. You know, I do like this intuitive, you know, I'm trying to hit my protein goals every day, but just Monday to Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday would just be like, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want. And so I wouldn't do that.
And
but
does that really make a difference?
Huge difference.
Wow.
Huge difference. But I still went to like a restaurant and I had a steak with the mashed potatoes and everything, but I tracked that in the app. I have a food tracker app, and I just track everything down there. I have how many calories I want to be eating a day, and then I have how much protein. So generally you should be eating about 0.7 to 1 gram. I like to go by 1 gram because it's easy to calculate. It's easy math. So 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you are like 150 pounds, then and how you calculate that from kilos, if you only know your body weight by kilos, multiply your weight in kilos by 2.2, then you get your weight in pounds. That's what you need to eat per day in protein. Then what I do, because I like to eat 4 meals, so basically like 3 major meals and 1 protein-rich snack, I divide that up between the 4 meals. So it's about 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal. And then I build my meals around my protein.
So tell us what you eat for breakfast.
I have a few, I have 3 go-tos for my breakfasts. So I either do 2 full eggs with 3 added egg whites, scramble that all up, put that in the pan with a little bit of butter, which I also account for. I put the butter in, and yes, I use butter, and I lost weight using butter. And then I cook that up. Then I have some either sourdough bread. Sourdough is really great for helping our digestive system. I won't get into all the science of that, but it really helps. Or the protein bread. And then that also enriches my protein content for that meal. So that's one meal, eggs and toast, basically. Another one is Greek yogurt, and I'll add sometimes a scoop of my vegan protein powder. I use vegan protein powder because the whey protein powder bloats me.
Yeah,
and,
me too.
I become lethal to anybody around me when I've had whey protein. It's just not good. So I use the vegan protein just because it's better for my system. So
Any particular brand?
I like my vegan. I find it to be the less grainy.
Where do you get that?
From My Protein, so just online.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's their My Vegan line. Okay. So I'll put a scoop of that into the Greek yogurt, add a little bit of extra water because sometimes it can get a little bit too thick. Put some berries on there, chop up some dark chocolate sometimes. Of course, I track all of this stuff. So the dark chocolate that I have, I weigh it. I put it in. So with the app that I use, it has a barcode scanner. I scan it off the back of the thing. I can put in there how many grams exactly that I've put into my breakfast bowl, how many grams exactly of my berries.
Oh,
so
wow.
Berries and strawberries, really great for your gut health, really great for antioxidants. And then I have that, and I eat 400 grams. Is it 400 grams? Yeah, like one of the big pots of Greek yogurt. Like it's a lot of food. And so when I work with clients and I tell them this is what you need to start eating, they're like, this is too much food.
But you see, I think women are so scared of eating too much food.
Right.
Because I think what we're supposed to eat and what we're actually eating is a lot less.
Right.
So then to add on, I'm like this, I don't eat enough.
Right.
And sometimes I'm not even hungry to eat it.
Yep.
So what do you say to these women?
You need to start tracking it and just forcing yourself to eat. Know exactly what to eat. And the thing is that calorie-dense food is it's satisfying. Like you're not going to want to eat any of the other things. So I find that I snack a lot if I'm hungry and I'm craving protein. It's because my body doesn't have a protein button. All it has is a hungry button. So it's going to say to me, I'm hungry, I need something for my muscles, but it's not going to say it's not going to say, hey, you need to have protein. It's just going to say, you're hungry. And it's like, okay. And so I'm going to keep eating. And it's going to keep asking for food because every time I eat something, it starts digging through whatever I threw down there. It's going to dig through it. Where's the protein? Okay, so we need to ask for more. And so then I snack. Okay. And then if you actually track what you snack, those calories add up really fast.
Yeah.
So we're actually eating more in calories, but in the processed stuff.
Right.
So then if we're actually eating the calorie dense stuff and it's really protein rich and rich with our all of the vitamins and the minerals and everything that we need and create a really nice microbiome down in our gut, and then we're absorbing all of those nutrients, all of a sudden we don't need all of those sugary snacks anymore. Yeah.
And then your third breakfast option?
My third breakfast would be like something like an omelet, so then I'm adding in more of those things. But yeah, those are my go-tos. I also really like the Nada Greek yogurt drinks. So if I'm in a rush, one of those it's 330 calories and it has 30 grams of protein in it. Quick breakfast.
I've not seen
it's
Nada.
You can just get it in the gas station.
Okay.
The little shops. They have
not
all sorts of
not high in sugar.
Okay. They have other little flavors and stuff. So yeah, that's an easy one as well that I go. Yeah, and then for my other meals, depending on what it is, but I choose fish, chicken, sometimes beef, and just a variety of different things with lots of vegetables and sometimes some rice. It depends on what my macros are, so what I want to be doing. So as I was leading up to my photo shoot, I was playing around with my macros. So macros.
Can you explain macros? Because
Yes.
a lot of people don't understand what macros is.
So macros is short for macronutrients. So we have three major nutrients. We have our proteins, we have our carbohydrates, we have our fats. So all of our food is made up of some combination of those three. So broccoli has protein in it, and chicken has carbohydrates in it. So this is something that people don't understand, that there's not just like a pure protein source, that actually when you're eating things, you're actually eating a combination of stuff. So understanding what it is that you're eating. And then once you understand what it is you need to be eating, so you know how much you need to be eating for your protein. And then you also need to understand how many calories you need to be eating a day. So that's what I do first. I calculate how many calories I want to be eating a day. Then from there, how much protein, and then from there, whatever calories are left, I split between the carbs and the fats.
So calories, how many calories do you know?
It's usually I use the calculation of my weight in pounds again, so whatever your weight is in kilos times 2.2, and then multiplied by 12. That generally gets you to what you should be eating at maintenance. So if you want to be losing weight, and say you want to weigh like 59 kilos or something like that, then 59 kilos times 2.2 times 12, that's your calorie that you want to be eating at in order to get to 15, because that's the maintenance for 59 kilos.
Oh, so you decide what weight you want to be and then multiply.
So that's
right.
a way to calorie deficit yourself to the weight that you want to be at, but then also nourishing yourself in a way that you're still getting, because what people don't understand is when you eat enough protein, you're satiated. You're satiated. Yeah, so you feel fuller for longer, and then you don't need all of those other little snacky things. Yeah, cool. So that's what I did. So when I was leading up to my photo shoot, I did put myself into a rather. I was in a calorie deficit. So my maintenance is around 2,000 to 2,200 calories a day if I want to maintain my weight. Based on my activity level and the strength training that I do and everything like that, that's where, if I want to maintain my weight, that's how many calories I need to eat a day. But if I want to be losing fat, then I need to go into a calorie deficit. So at first, I went too extreme. I went to 1,600 calories and I gained fat because my body went into stress. And when you're stressed, you're inflamed. And what does estrone do? She doesn't help you out at all. So it's like, okay, so I need to do something that keeps my body somewhat happy. So we don't need to go too extreme. So this is why when women cut the calories too much and not eating enough, we're actually going to gain fat because their body is freaking out.
So is that where cortisol comes into it?
Yes, exactly. And then cortisol also loves to pack the weight on around so you have estrone, or the body wanting to produce estrogen, and so it's making the estrone here around the belly, and then you're doing things that cause stress in your body, and cortisol, the stress hormone, is going to pack on the weight. So you have pack. It just packs on right here. It's so neat. Yeah, so for mine, I went down to 1,600 calories, way too low, so I bumped it back up to 1,800, which is still a 200 calorie deficit per day. And then the 2 weeks before my photo shoot, I did carb cycling. So I had one day where I had higher carbs and higher calories, so that was my 1,800 day. Then the next day, I was 1,600 calories, and the difference between those 2 days, I took the 200 calories from the carbohydrates. So this is just a way for me to play with things leading up to my photo shoot, because I just wanted to take off a little bit more fat. But just generally speaking, I would just keep it at maximum 200 calorie deficit a day. But then on the weekends, I still tracked it. And I made sure that I stayed within my calorie goal and also meeting my protein goal. Because if you think about the week as a whole, rather than thinking, oh, today I ate a 200 calorie deficit and like for 5 days I did that, and then today I'm going to actually eat at a surplus of 500 calories. Well, I've wiped out everything already. If I do that for 2 days, that's 1,000 calories. Well, 5 days at a 200 calorie deficit, that's 1,000 calories, right? So and then you wreck it all on the weekend. So you're actually eating at maintenance, even though you dieted Monday to Friday. We're ruining it Saturday and Sunday.
I mean, for me personally, I've never been a drinker. And I would have maybe 2 drinks, if, occasionally, not every week.
Yeah.
But now, if I have 1 drink, the hot flashes start immediately.
Yes. And that's because estradiol isn't there helping out. She isn't helping out with a detoxification. I noticed for myself, it was 2 drinks. So I could have 1, no problems at all. The second drink, and it's not a matter of being drunk, it was just that second drink. And there could be a number of like an hour and a half or 2 hours between the drinks.
Well,
and the
I
second
mean-
one, I'd have hot flashes.
Okay, so what do we say to these women that are not prepared to give up alcohol? Because there are some alcohol that is better than another. They say the white spirits are much more pure. Tequila, gin, vodka, with maybe soda water. I mean, what do you say about that?
I personally noticed that even just with one, because my poison of choice is gin. I love it.
Okay.
I feel like we're good friends. I have a nice, beautiful collection of it on my
I remember
cupboard.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
And I look at them and I think, But I did notice, like after I figured out that it was the second drink, that I would have night sweats. Like I would wake up and it was like I was in a rainforest, like I was like absolutely soaked. And it was because of that second drink. So then I would cut it down to one. And then once I got the Whoop and I started tracking a lot more of my data and my metrics, and I noticed what was happening with my sleep, and I saw that one drink affected my sleep. And so now I look at those bottles, those beautiful bottles of gin, and I think, is it worth it? And it's like, no, it's not. I love sleep so much. And especially so not only are we losing estradiol, we're also losing progesterone. And this is another one of our hormones that we don't talk about.
Progesterone.
So progesterone helps to calm us. And this is also why we get a lot of the sleep disruption. And so if we're losing the progesterone and we're getting sleep disruption, why do I want to put something intentionally into my system that's going to inflame it and also disrupt my sleep when it's already, and I'm doing that to myself on purpose. Why would I do that? I'm just not going to. That's what I would say to people. And then if they're having all these symptoms, it's like, but then why are you doing that to yourself on purpose?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then it just actually isn't that hard to say no, because I honestly, sleep is my favorite. So I want to say yes to it more.
I mean, look, I think we have to all listen to our body, because our body tells us, right, what we need and what we don't need. And I think it's about discipline. They say that 21 days creates the habit. And I think for women that are starting out, what would be the advice that you would give to them?
I would say start tracking the food. Cut out those processed foods. Try to eat as whole as possible. Add in more colorful things. They say eat from the rainbow. So a lot of colorful things. I would track my macros. If you don't know how to do that, find a nutritionist or a trainer, somebody who is qualified in that to be able to help break it down for you, teach you how to do it, and commit to it. And once, I would even say more than 21 days, I would say commit to it for 3 months. And then you'll see how much your body changes, how your skin changes, how, like, I have a client who's in her early 30s, and she's like, what are you doing for your skin routine? Your skin has improved so much.
You look phenomenal.
Yeah.
You look
And
the
it's
best
just-
I've ever seen you.
And it's really, honestly, cutting out all of these other things. It's magical. So then you start to feel, and this is the thing, is like you said, a lot of women are walking into the perimenopausal age already inflamed because of the things that they're doing and they're eating and they're drinking. So they're already in an inflamed system with estradiol, with her trying to help you out, and you're still in an inflamed system. So we actually don't know how good it feels to feel good. So if you give yourself 3 months to really commit to that and really clean it all up and notice how good you feel, how much better you're sleeping, how good your skin looks, you know, how men in the elevator are now starting to ask for your number. That happened to me today. I was like, oh, my neighbor. I was like, that's interesting. It's, you know, it's good. And then it's not hard to say no to the sugar and say no to the alcohol, because those aren't my friends anymore. I have to break up
sugar
with
is
them.
the number one poison, right?
Right.
I mean, I did a 3-month detox with this kinesiologist when I was in my 30s. And the first thing she took out of the diet on the first week was sugar and alcohol.
Yes.
They were the first to go.
Yeah.
And I lost 6 kg in 3 months. But I mean,
Yeah.
I was in my 30s.
But it could happen
But I mean,
again.
I did, and I did realize, because I'm the dessert person. Not so much desserts well, I still like my desserts, but chocolate I have to have every day. And I realized it was just completely a habit.
Yeah.
And when you lose that craving, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Right.
But you have to discipline yourself
Right.
initially.
Yeah.
How badly do you want it?
Right.
How badly are you feeling bad? You know, what are you prepared to do to be in the best shape and health of your life?
And then also to understand that this isn't just a quick fix for a short period of time, but this is us working with our new menopausal system. This is us in our new era. And this is us taking hold of our power and becoming best friends with estrone and understanding what it is that she's doing and not doing in our body and working with that. And then not working against ourselves, because we actually are creating our own frustration when we're putting the frustration into our system through our mouth. So yeah, I would say that's the first thing to do, is to really just deal with the inflammation first, and then these other things, like if you do the HIIT workout 3 times a week and just really blast it out, get a trainer and start doing the strength training to address the bone density issues and the muscle building issues, then you start building a habit and a lifestyle that's actually really geared towards the menopausal system, to understand that there's just slight nuances. And honestly, these are things I should have been doing all along. If I had been doing this in my 20s, my PMS wouldn't have been nearly as bad. If I'd been doing this in my 30s, I would have had a much different mental state even. But now is my time where I am listening to my body. So I often like to say that menopause puts me on pause to listen to myself.
Amazing.
And then once we understand our system, then we're just flying, because all of a sudden we feel so good and we look so good and we're in our power. And then we can start investing back into what we created during our fertile years, whether that was community, whether that was children, whether that was career, whatever that was, we start investing that back. So there is a slight time of detoxification from that estradiol, and it's a little bit difficult, but that's why I decided to not go into the bio. I didn't want to reintroduce those and have to keep going through the detox.
And it costs
cycle.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money to take these hormones,
Right.
you know.
And then you also have to think about that as well. Who's making the money?
What about how many times a week weight training?
I do 5. I do 5 days a week, and
Is
then
3
is
enough?
Three is enough. Absolutely. I love it so much. It's the gym is my mental hospital. It's where I go to work out all of my demons. I say that when I leave the gym, I'm like, yep, cleaned all the demons out, so it's nice and clean for them to come right back in tomorrow.
So in that 5 days, then how do you split it?
It's with the legs, shoulders, and chest, legs, back and biceps and triceps, and then legs.
Okay, and that's 5 days.
Yeah. And then I have one day where I'm not doing anything specifically fitness oriented, but I go out and I be active with my kids, go and do things, whatever it is. And then on Sundays, I have sort of a fun day with my girlfriends. There's a gym where you can get in for free for ladies. And there's a lot of, let's say, nice male merchandise to look at. So that's highly motivating. So we like to go and just have, some giggles and push things around and stuff, and then go for a walk and sit out in the sun and go to the beach or whatever. But that's, so I'm still active, but I'm not, I would call it active rest or active recovery.
What about stretching?
Yep, you should be doing stretching. So you can also do the yoga. That's actually really good for mobility and things like that, but I wouldn't rely on yoga purely only for muscle building. You do need the resistance. You need the external force of the weights to create the reaction in your body to contract. Because again, losing estradiol, she used to do that in our muscles. There's these things called myosin that help with the muscle contraction.
Yeah.
And these receptor sites for the myosin to get this nice, strong muscle contraction dies off because estradiol is going away. And so we need to have this external force to create the neural reaction. So we need that. We need that squeeze. We need that force. So this is also why we need to start going heavier. So I don't want to say that 15, 12, 10 reps are irrelevant. They are relevant, but we need to start doing heavier. So I tend more towards the 5 to 8 rep And then my accessories are more into the 10 to 12, but we need that strong contraction. So to be very intentional when we're pulling that weight, when we're pushing that weight, to pay attention to which muscles we're working and to really get that contraction in there, because estradiol isn't doing it for us automatically. This is why we're losing the muscle, because it's not contracting.
Right. I mean, what do you say to the women that are absolutely terrified of being big if they push too much of a heavy weight?
They're never going to get that big.
Yeah, I mean, we know that. But there's so many women that are like, oh, I don't want to get big muscles. Well, do you know how difficult it is to actually achieve that?
Do you know how hard it is to build muscle? Yeah, and especially at our age, because once I stop, I lose muscle so fast. So earlier this year, I went back to Canada for a family emergency, and I was away for 2 weeks. Didn't eat very well, didn't exercise at all, and I came back and I had lost 1.5 kilos of muscle. So, so then now I have to rebuild it, and it took me 2 months to rebuild that 1.5 kilos. So no, you're not. And I'm going in, and you've seen me work out. I work out like a beast, and I push really, really hard. I'm squatting 90 kgs. I'm hip thrusting 200 kgs. I'm doing body weight chin-ups. So I'm strong, not to brag, but yes.
You are.
But I am
very
strong. But what I'm saying is that, like, I'm strong, but I'm also not big, and it takes a lot for me to build muscle. It really does. So you have to, like, you're not going to get big. We're also losing testosterone. So we're not, and so we've already, as women, we have less testosterone than men anyway. So we're not going to bulk up like men do. And then going through menopause, we're losing testosterone as well.
So what about the testosterone? Because I've also been taking testosterone.
Right. So then that's something else that also the strength workouts and the HIIT workouts
will
do together to help to kickstart the testosterone production. Yeah.
So where can people find you? Are you still personal training?
I'm not doing any more personal training one-to-one. I am in the process of developing something, and so I'll be launching it very soon, to mentor menopausal women through this new lifestyle. So like I said, if you give it 3 months, I really think that you can grasp the concepts and move on. So this is what I want to do, is to create a menopausal mentorship program where we work together for 3 months within small groups, and then carry on. So I'm going to be launching that very soon. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's Moxie Menopause. Moxie is Moxie, menopause. Moxie is an American colloquial. When she has moxie. Have you heard the saying before? She's got moxie. It means she has a tenacity. She has this kind of strength that it doesn't matter how many times you knock her down, she's going to get right back up. Fabulous. And I think that that's exactly what a menopausal woman is. You knock her down and she's just going to keep getting back up. And so that's what we are. We're Moxie Menopause. And so this transition is trying to knock us down, but we're going to figure it out. And we're going to become good friends with estrone, and we're going to start working with her rather than against her. And then we're going to find ourselves in the best era of our lives.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
I mean, it's easy to be young and beautiful, right? But as we age, if we've always taken care of ourselves, we can thrive well into our 50s and 60s and beyond.
And beyond.
We are very good examples of that. I'm 58 years old. Dawn Raquel is 48, I believe.
Yes, I'm turning 49 this year.
Amazing. Mm-hmm. So there you go. We are prime examples. You don't have to kick the bucket after menopause. It's all there for you. We have so much more information nowadays. And I hope you found this very informative. I've certainly learned from it. So until next time, you can catch me on my website, katrinavalenti.com. I have a free masterclass there on how to age gracefully. And the Instagram is Katrina Valenti, the number 1. So until next time, be well, stay beautiful, and keep glamorous always. How long was that? How long was that? You didn't give me the...
55.
Wow, 55.
Wow.
That was awesome.
Yeah.